Oh, yeah, baby. What's happening? Two people already in here. What's up, guys? If you want to jump in the chat, let me know what's happening. Oh, Heather, what is going on? Good to have you. Always a pleasure. Heather, how's your training going? Hope you're doing pretty well, man. I saw, man, what were you doing on the log the other day? I don't remember, but that looked phenomenal. Nice job. Keep it up. I really hope to see you do well coming up here in a few weeks. We're getting closer and closer. So, all right, I usually give this about the first 2 minutes to see if anybody pops in. If anybody wants to fire away, ask some questions, get things going. Now is the time. I'm also going to set up my Instagram live as well. Oh, kick myself off. So here's what we're talking about tonight. We're going to talk about Hooper continuing to obliterate everybody. Just went on a clean sweep. He went 4 for 4, 4 event wins, and bowed out of the last competition. What else happened? Some news came out this week of OSG with some things that they're doing with coach passes and this and that. Is it a money grab? You'll have to see. What's up, Courtney? How's it going? What's up, Leroy? So we're going to give this about 30 more seconds, and we're going to get into the world of Strongman for the week. So today we're going to talk about Hooper, the Giants Live Worlds Final. What's going on with OSG? Talk about some barriers that are holding back most Strongman athletes and what to do about them. Let's see what else. And then how to positively change Strongman. That's something I feel really passionately about. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right. Okay. So first things first, this past weekend was the Giants Live World Tour. And if you do not keep up with Pro Strongman, there's a guy by the name of Mitch Hooper right now who is just obliterating everybody. So there's some mixed feelings. I always like talking about these things because for some reason, Mitch Hooper gets the people going one way or another. And, you know, I'm a big pro wrestling fan. So let's give the example of CM Punk. I tell you what, I cannot stand that guy. Drives me crazy. But you have to acknowledge when somebody, period, gets the people going one way or another, that's money. You know, Eric Bischoff said controversy creates cash. And it's all about clicks, likes, views. And Hooper himself is even somebody who takes advantage of current trends. Like, for example, when they killed that guy at the CrossFit Games, Luka Dukic, you know, rest in peace. But he jumped on the bandwagon to probably get some clicks, likes, and views and share his opinion. And a lot of people think that he's too much of an influencer or he's too this, he's too that. But the reality is what's going on here is that Mitch Hooper is on probably the greatest run in Strongman history right now. And he has no signs of slowing down. He has only gotten better and better and better and better. So what happened? So we had Giants Live World Tour Finals. He had 4 for 4. He won the first 4 events and completely bowed out of the 5th event. And some people were calling him out and saying that he should have done that 5th event. You know, he doesn't care about the fans, which is ridiculous because actually what ended up happening is that Trey Mitchell and Luke Richardson were tied, or I'm sorry, they were 1 point separated for second place going into that final event. So that actually made it for a little bit more of an interesting finish because you would have had in pairings, you would have had Trey Mitchell go up against Mitchell Hooper. And instead, you had second and third actually like battling out together. Because if Mitch Hooper just showed up and did something very easily, like nothing mattered. He could have just stood there by himself and, you know, still won, which he did because he pulled out all the way. So it's just, I just don't understand why people get so salty because the guy is incredible. And I've actually learned a couple of things from him myself. You know, when you kind of start to break down on what that guy is doing, he does it very excellently and very intelligently. I think he has a lot to offer the average strongman athlete in ways that a lot of other athletes do not. So what do I mean by that? I always give the example of people should not really listen to Hafthor Bjornsson and train and perform the way that he does, because he is a genetic freak and a genetic anomaly that is built completely different from the rest of us. So he's, upwards of like 7 feet tall, has some of the best genetics that have ever been given to anybody to compete in strength sports. But Mitch Hooper is another guy where he has, the perfect combination of conditioning. He masters his recovery. Seems like his training is locked in on point. And then all of his technical things are just perfect. I mean, the way he does even the log press, regardless of whether you think it's a lockout or not, masters. So Sean Fennelly just joined, and I was just talking to Sean about this with his block press. One thing that Mitch Hooper is really good at, which I have learned to do recently, has greatly helped me, is to do this technique called a spinal jerk. So where you do your push press, normal motion, you press up, and then you lean back and create that arch like the old school Olympic lifter standing press, and you get your pecs involved into it. So Hooper, despite being a little smaller than some of these other guys, is strategically and correctly using his chest by his positioning. So even though he doesn't have the size, people can say mass moves mass, he's still whooping a lot of these guys that have stronger shoulders and better, should have a better shot at the log. So anyways, enough of that. Mitch Hooper's the man. If you disagree, I just think you're salty. Past that, why don't we dig into OSG. So the official Strongman games are coming up. I know the arch makes us strong. It sure does, brother. Not just the arch, the golden arches. It's bringing us all together right now. Anyways, let's not get into that. So official Strongman games is coming up. It is October 22nd today. So we're about 6 weeks out, I believe. And OSG just came out. They sent an email out to athletes saying that they're going to be charging an additional $40 for a coach's pass, and the coaches are going to be required to have a spectator's pass as well. So that means that if you are bringing your coach with you, you're going to be required for them or somebody to pay $140 to get them that backstage access. Now, let's think about this from all perspectives. First off, it was easy last year to go swipe a coach's pass just like that. So you had a lot of people who obviously were not coaches backstage. I may or may not have had my fiance back there, but it was easy to get a pass. That's that. Two, you had a lot of people that travel solo that were able to get those passes that they just grabbed one because they thought it was cool. I'm not going to name names, but I talked to somebody that I know personally was like, oh, I just grabbed one as like a souvenir. Ridiculous. So there does need to be some level of exclusivity to these coaches' passes, but we're getting gripes in the community that it is a money grab or that athletes are getting overcharged for this thing. Now, I hate to break it to you, but Strongman is not a broke person sport. That unfortunately is the harsh reality of this. And this kind of comes back to a greater point. When you want to think about what is it that you want in your life and what do you have for your goals just in general, but this is related specifically as an athlete, I would bring it from my perspective. I want to compete at the very, very, very highest levels. I want to go to the World Championships. It happens to be in Madison, Wisconsin this year. And therefore, I fully, completely, 100% accept the responsibility that it is going to cost money. I have to travel. I have to pay my coach. I now have to pay my nutritionist. I have to pay for an Airbnb. I'm going to pay for a rental car. I'm going to pay for food when I get up there. I'm going to take time off of work. And to me, that is okay because it is sacrifices necessary to get there. There just seems to be this constant disconnect between the levels of strongman and like where we are in the world right now. I all the time get comments about, there should be prize money for this and that. Well, where does it come from? Sometimes you're going to get lucky and somebody's going to, step up and individually donate a lot of money to a show, but that is like not the run of mill. We have to think about, when something like official strongman games happens, they have a lot of expenses. They have to rent an entire arena. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of equipment that they are bringing to this. And it's heavy, which means that the freight that's required to get there is extremely expensive as well. Last year, they were shipping equipment all the way over from Australia, which was circus dumbbells, wagon wheels, and anchor yokes. So we're talking about a couple thousand pounds that was being shipped internationally. That is expensive. I haven't shipped a lot of stuff, for equipment, but I just know I had a 105-pound circus dumbbell that was sent my way, and that was probably $150 just in shipping. So if you're talking about several thousand pounds, this is going to add up and add up, 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 up. So do I think that this is price gouging? No. Do I think that they should have announced this earlier? Yes. But when you consider all the factors that go into running this show, you also have to remember you get world-class media coverage of you competing that exists on the internet forever. That is very easy for you to get and save. The value of that is unbelievable for you and your friends and your family to be able to watch that, not only live, but forever and ever and ever. So that's how I feel about that. Now, the other thing too is talking and chatting doesn't really do a lot, because you do have a lot of people that are making a lot of noise about this, and good. I think it's worthy to have a discussion and bring up points that are valid to move the sport forward. So, not down talking anybody that's having any sort of contrary feelings to me. But what really changes things, moving into my next point, is action. So if you do not like something, the easiest way to respond to that, or let's not say the easiest, the best way to respond to that is to put more of your energy and support into the things that you do like. So, we have right now the Pro Strongman League. Now, the Pro Strongman League, if you don't know anything about them, they have pretty decent cash prizes. If I'm correct, there are no entry fees for athletes to come compete there. They have a free live stream on YouTube, and they have a lot of very high grade equipment. And from what it sounds like, all the athletes typically say that they are treated very, very well when they show up to the show. On the other hand, their production value is not that high. And you also do not get very good arenas. If you were watching any of their last show, which was the 90 kilo men and I believe the 64 kilo women, sorry if I'm wrong on that, it was outside at a park in Virginia Beach, and they would scan to the audience and there was 12 people there. So what I'm kind of saying here is that you need to vote with, your views, your dollars, your clicks. So if you do not like the way something is done, it really doesn't do any good to just blah, 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 trash talk it. It actually, in some weird ways, empowers it. So I would like to introduce this concept called energy pendulums, right? So whether you are on one side or the other, you are feeding this whole pendulum, whether you like it or don't like it. So this is, like we talked about with Hooper, a lot of people just don't like Mitch Hooper, but guess what? If you're somebody out on the internet who's smack talking him, you're giving him more likes and you're exposing him to more people that are going to like him. So you're feeding this thing to make it stronger. And that's what happens when you smack talk an event. Your words just empower it, even if it's negative, right? It's this pro wrestling thing, even though that's a scripted entertainment program, it garners a reaction. So indifference is really the correct way to weaken that sort of thing. So if you don't like the way that OSG is doing this with their overcharging, money grabbing, or whatever, then you need to put your money where your mouth is and close your mouth at the same time and go support something else. Now, this also applies at the local levels. I made a video that was, is Strongman oversaturated? If you have not seen that, I really would highly recommend, if you're interested in this topic, to go check it out. It's on my channel. But in this, I'm saying the same thing. You need to be supporting what you want to see more of. And that is, true for the sport of strongman, or really anything in general. It's going to see a movie. If you don't like action movies and you only like horror movies, go buy that horror movie. That's going to count and add up if everybody else feels the same way. Same with these local shows. You don't like the way that this promoter does something or that promoter does something, don't go. And unfortunately, some of these things are a popular vote. So if people agree with you, then guess what? There's going to be less of that type of show, less of that person. It just will happen. So how do you positively change strongman? like I said, put your energy and your momentum into supporting the things that you really, really like. But it's more than just participating as an athlete. It's about, feeding your energy into this as a supporter in other different ways, including, just liking and sharing stuff on social media really helps a lot. As me as a promoter, like I know some of you guys that are sharing every single thing that I put out. And like you guys are my favorites. Like I love you so much because, you know, it doesn't take that much effort for people to do that, but a lot of people just don't. They're just indifferent. That's okay. There's no expectation of you to like go share this. Like, fine, no problem. But similarly, there's so many people who have volunteered time and time and time again, selflessly, even refused, to get anything from it. They just want to help out. That's really important, and it says a lot, and it builds a community in one specific way, which is, now for me, I have these handful of people who I know are so good to me all the time. Like if they were to come and ask me to help them out, like they have built good equity with me, and I'm going to help them out no matter what, no questions asked. Like you need something, man, you've helped me all the time. Like, heck yeah, I'm there. So we can kind of build this connection, not just between like one and one, me and that person, but it can be a big growing web and network where we are all supporting each other. And this is how you end up getting, for good and for bad, like clicks, right? Like you tend to see a lot of the same people volunteering or participating at the same types of shows. And like, it's cool. Strongman is big enough to where you can have different groups and different armies, like different tribes, whatever. Like that's all good. But if you want your tribe to grow bigger and grow stronger, you do have to show that your investment in this thing is beyond the selfish level. You do need to be out there like participating, hopefully because you give a shit and you like want to actually grow this thing. But even if it's just a selfish reason, like listen, if somebody is coming to volunteer on my show because their only motive whatsoever is that it's going to be more likely to grow their own show, like it doesn't really matter to me because we're really benefiting in a big, big way for both of us, right? Like you come help out on my show, I'm going to come help out at your show. Like just no questions asked. So it'd make all of us better. And I think you need to be, well, you can make your own choices, but I personally am leery of people that I've known for many years that I have asked and have not come to help out at my shows. And there's really not a lot of obligation or expectation to, but some people just like flat out refuse. I've never seen them volunteer in any way, shape, or form at anything, and you have to wonder why that is. But that is just pure speculation. So what's up, guys? Got a few more people that have joined in. I'm live both on Instagram and YouTube right now, but if anybody's here and wants to ask some questions, please fire away. I'm going to keep kind of rolling on a few more topics here. But so far we talked about, again, Hooper, OSG. Let's kind of round that point back up on OSG. I think ultimately it's your responsibility. If you want to compete at the highest level, you have to understand what is involved with that. And if you're not willing to figure out how to earn more money to pay all of your expenses and pay all of your bills and get there, then either you're not cut out for it or you need to change the conversation entirely. Because another thing that I didn't even say is like it costs a lot of money to eat to your best. I fortunately am luckier as a lightweight athlete. I cannot even imagine what the food bills cost for these guys that are like super heavyweights that are taking this seriously. Anyways, it's your responsibility. If you're not willing to take full responsibility, then you should stop acting like it's really your goal to take this all the way in that avenue. And if it's your goal to take this all the way, you have to pick a different lane that's more financially feasible and reasonable for you. Easy, LOL, Leroy, my man. Yeah, so that's that. Again, please pop in with any questions that you have. I'm going to keep rolling here. We're going to get into some of the biggest challenges that strength athletes are facing. So I really try to be somebody who I want to create the change that I want to see in the world. So when I started promoting shows, it was because I did not like the way things were done. Even a step before that, which a lot of you may not know, I promoted shows in Chicago. I was the only person in the city of Chicago to run a strongman competition in the span of, I was there for 5 years and I had never seen one actually inside the city limits. So there was no strongman competition in Chicago. I wanted there to be some. I started. I moved down to Florida in 2020. I did want to promote shows, but I got a lot more involved and invested when I came to, honestly, the Tampa Bay Strongman Classic in 2020. And I'm sorry, it was terrible. And I knew immediately, like, all right, well, if I want this to be good, then I have to step up and put on a show that's a lot better and done the way that I want to do. Now, Heather Sirkin is in here on the YouTube chat, and you're the man. Heather did my very, very first show, and she will be competing at OSG this year. She's competed at the Pro Strongman League. I saw her compete at America's Strongest Woman last year, so it makes me so proud. What I like to do for my shows, another way, positively change the world, is I think it's important to provide people opportunities at all levels to get involved and grow this thing, because we have a lot of studs in strongman, but Derek, I'm going to get to that question. There's a lot of good talent involved in strongman, and I think it's still really, really, really untapped. You had a lot of people that were going into powerlifting, CrossFit, or just other athletics that would do extremely well in strongman. And the reason that a lot of them are not in this is because there were, at one point in time, so few shows. So as we continue to grow this, like, we're going to start seeing, guys, I seriously think we have no idea the type of athletes that are going to be coming into strongman in the next few years, because it's just getting bigger, bigger, bigger. This thing is growing. Like, I fully expect, like, log, axle records to deadlift records, like the level of competitions. I think we are entering like a really, really prime area because of all these different studs that are coming in. Like, you ain't seen nothing yet, not just at the highest level, but down below. There's going to be crazy shit happening. Like, a 90-kilo guy will deadlift 900. There's going to be an 80-kilo guy approaching 400 kilos soon, guaranteed. So moving along. I will jump right back though. Derek Waters, what's up, my man? We competed together at the USS Nationals this year. Money grabs made me think of USS Nats this year. They required any grip shirts worn to be a sponsors, which was Cerberus. It rubbed me the wrong way. Thoughts, if any? Okay, now I do have some thoughts on this. That, I think, is BS, for the reason that the Cerberus grip shirt is an inferior product. That's why that rubbed me the wrong way. If you've ever had an Evolution grip shirt, this thing is 10 times the grip shirt that the Cerberus one is, because the shirt material itself is a lot thicker, and it's also got grips on the inside, which makes the whole thing a little more heavy duty and gives a better stick, because you have the stick here and the stick on the inside, and it goes all the way around on the inside and outside. So I see this from two ways. One, like I said, it just flat out is an inferior product. So I think it's kind of weird and very silly to make all the competitors have to wear an inferior product. You would never do that with knee sleeves, with elbow wraps, with wrist straps, with any of that stuff. So I think it's stupid to have to force that into a competition. Now, on the other side of it, what kind of deal and offer is going on behind the scenes that makes that possible? All right, like, what sort of money is coming in to, I could care less about Cerberus, but what money is coming into, like Justin and Katie, who were running nationals last year, that potentially helped that event grow into something bigger that it could not be without that deal? Because if they're getting a lot of revenue from selling those shirts, and it really seriously did go to help finance, like getting that really, really cool National Western complex, if it helped them to secure all of that amazing equipment, because that equipment at Nationals was phenomenal. Every single piece was great. Then I'm going to feel a little bit differently, because that was the best run show that I've ever been to in my entire life. It was so smooth. Again, the equipment was great. I thought the venue was awesome. So if those shirts went into helping fund that, I'm going to be a little more forgiving. I just think that I would rather pay slightly more and have it be understood that like you're getting a grip shirt as part of this, and you're getting a grip shirt as part of this. You have to wear it. Like that's cool to me. I'd have no issue with that. It just like is ridiculous to have an extra expense because if the choice is up to me, I'm wearing that Evolution grip shirt every single day, all day long. And I doubt it. But if anybody from Cerberus or sponsored by them ever hears this, the product is inferior. I like your brand so much. I have your elbow sleeves. I have lots of your stuff, figure eights, blah, blah, blah. It's nothing against Cerberus, but the product is just inferior. If you were to step it up and make it better, it'd be like, whatever, I'm going to have it anyways. So, okay. But that's not how I feel. Thank you for the question, Derek. Hope you're training well, man. Hope things are going good for you. Yeah, I think that's silly. Zach, yes. Rhode Island Strongest Man. Doing a show soon that has banned grip shirts on all events. So Rhode Island Strongest Man, I believe that's Steve Trips. So he's saying, I think that's a good move for some local competitions. It gets everyone on a level playing field without needing to invest money in specific gear. Man, that's an interesting thing. I really ought to think about doing that more, but that's also a solution to that, right? Yeah, Heather said OSG is no grip shirts. No, OSG is historically never been grip shirts. They have not said anything about that at this time, so I think it's safe to assume that there are going to be no grip shirts on that. I don't know if they've explicitly said that or not, but no, it has not been grip shirts in any of the past years, just your comp shirts. So I know that actually messes up a lot of people because they will train in those and then won't be ready whatsoever at the competition when they're just wearing their t-shirts. So I feel like it's a pretty large advantage when I'm training in my sweaty, soaking wet cotton shirt. Then I'll get to go into the AC and that should be great. So that'll feel like a grip shirt after I train in freaking CrossFit Havoc in Bradenton, Florida, soaked in sweat. So yeah, I've thought about some stuff as well. And I think people would have more of a backlash on this, but I've been played around with the idea of a like no gear competition or no equipment competition. I think people would lose their heads and they would never sign up because at some point as a promoter, you have to play this game between like, what do you want to see in the world, but what's actually going to make like a successful event. You can have like all these ideas for the biggest, baddest, like coolest events. And then you could actually have them, but like if they run super slowly and they're real dangerous and it's real boring, then it will be a disaster. So, although I think it would be pretty cool to go minimalist strongman and have no equipment whatsoever, it would just draw probably 5 people. Junkyard out there. As if you're out there, I know he would be down for that, but probably will never do that. Heather's asking, I find cleaning a 12-inch log easier without the grip shirt. As a small person, the top part of the clean rotates better since I have less room for the log to rotate up, I think. So let's think about that. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I've pretty much only cleaned 12-inch logs for the last little while, but like as I'm thinking about it, like that would make sense. You don't want those things to, get stuck. And even sometimes, like I don't know, I guess I don't really know because I haven't trained with a grip shirt on a log in over a year, so I guess I can't really say for that. But if any smaller bodied people are in there, yeah. So other things here, 12 inches is the new standard for women on logs, which I think is a good move. Especially at the pro level, we want to push the limits there. Actually, I don't know. I don't know my thoughts on the matter because as a lightweight individual myself, I sometimes wonder like how different would this be if, let's phrase this a different way. I'm 5'8". I'm actually, believe it or not, on generally the taller end of the 80 kilo class. You have a lot of guys that are like 5'5", 5'6". They're just packed with muscle. And at many competitions, we are loading to the exact same height as the heavyweights. We're also using the same size dumbbells, same size logs, same size this and that as a heavier weight. So I often wonder, like, what would this be like if it wasn't, if the objects and the shapes and sizes of things were a little more equivalent to the weight classes. Now, one thing that has changed up is that the 80 kilo men have slightly lower platforms for stone loading than the rest of the men, which I think as a safety precaution is a good move because you're going to see a lot of people bending backwards to do that. However, I would want to push things in a perfect world the other direction and make the platforms higher for the taller people. So I have no issue with having to load things like up above my head. I just think that the other guys should too. So that's that. Valerie, what's up, my man? How's it going, brother? So yeah, 12 inches, new standard for women on the log. Interesting. Yeah, I forgot about that, but very cool. I'm pretty excited. We have that monster log from Bartos I think I'm going to have a shot at coming up. So training's going well. Anyways, this isn't about me. So here's some common things that I wanted to dig into that are common problems with strongman athletes and how to kind of overcome some of them. So as I'm talking to Heather and Zach and Valerie's in here, and so is Sean, kind of the number one thing that jumps out at me that I find really interesting is that I think strongman as a sport has more people that train solo and train individually than any other strength sport. And the biggest problem with that is, right, obviously access to equipment. While strongman is the fastest growing strength sport, it used to be so rare to find Atlas stones anywhere. Now you probably got a couple places in your gym. A couple gyms in your town that have those stones. You're still going to have a hard time finding logs, circus dumbbells, the right sandbags, yokes, axles, and you'll have an even harder time finding that all under one roof. So that leads to a lot of people, either staying in one location to train by themselves. A lot of times this is like a CrossFit gym, like where I'm at, where, there's not a lot of strongman training people in my area, but that has all the equipment. So that's the better choice. Or a lot of people invest on their own and build up their own home gym, so they can have all of these things. And that unfortunately is kind of a barrier for a lot of people. We are all social beings in nature, right? Like that's what makes CrossFit so popular, I think, is, it's a CrossFit class, like pretty much by structure, and you get to work out with other people. There's just not really the same type of thing that exists with strongman, and it's because of all the different specialty devices that are needed. So what does one do about that? There's a lot of different things you can do. One obvious answer is be active in your community. So I would suggest, talk to people online, regularly, going to different shows and just being involved, whether it's volunteer, spectator, or anything else, will just kind of give you some juice to keep going, and stay active. You never really know who in your community, might not know that you're training strongman and might want to join you, right? So Heather makes a good point here. Setting up a throw rig without a group is rough. The team day is a very important thing to offer. So get out there and network, man. And if you really care, this kind of ropes back to the point of what level of responsibility are you willing to take in order to really take this thing all the way. For some people, it's going to take you every once in a while, driving a couple hours out of your way so you can go train with good people and on the right equipment. It's a huge advantage to have that social aspect. Now another thing that I would encourage too is if you are training for a specific competition, then try to find some of those people that you're going up against, or even that are just competing at the same show at different class, and talk to them, say hey, how are you doing on this? What's going on? Looking forward to competing with you. So just try to go out of your way to be a little more social, because I know it can be tough for some of us that, like to, that want to be social, but we're training by ourselves. So I'm going to kind of keep rolling through a few more, but if you have any common problems that you have faced in your training career or anything else, please spit them out. We're going to keep going here. Number 2 would be improper advice or unreliable sources. So one thing this is a positive and a negative, but I think a little more of a negative, is that there's a lot of people that do some of these events horribly, that get away with it to a relatively high degree because of their pure raw strength or, just their size in general. So somebody that is 6'8" and 450 pounds naturally is going to be able to pick up relatively very heavy objects compared to a small person, right? Again, let's relate to me being a 180-pound person. It takes a lot of work for me to train up and successfully shoulder a 300-pound sandbag. But somebody that's 450 pounds, I mean, you're picking up 2/3 of your body weight. Like, that's not really that impressive. So a lot of people will like gravitate to that and uphold somebody like that as an authority because they're like, oh, wow, look at that person. They shouldered a 300-pound sandbag. That's so heavy. But for, Heather, you compete at 132, if I'm not mistaken. That would be like her shouldering a 90-pound sandbag. Like, it's not that impressive. So a lot of people are getting unreliable advice, and I think that is a detriment to people's success. Now, what do you do about that? This is another thing where you kind of have to take the onus to go out of your way and hire a coach, right? Study things on YouTube. You need to be active at shows. There's a big theme that's popping up here where you have to go out of your way and be involved in kind of every possible way to be a good strongman. You cannot just sit back and like be an athlete that's a butthole to everybody and expect all these different things to go your way, because the value of being a volunteer or just active in every facet of the community has endless benefits that allows you to see things from different perspectives, network, and just grow as a person. So, when we're talking about these challenges and unreliable advice, you're going to start to amass and gather up. You'll see these trends of like, well, this person looks like me and does it this way. Maybe I should try that. Or you'll start to see different patterns that are successful, and will open up your eyes to try different things and see what works for you. So really just kind of look and see, what's out there. You have to be, a student of the game, right? I didn't think I was going to go 5, but I'm just going to kind of cut into one more and then kind of field if there's any other questions. The third one is pretty obvious, I would think. But if you think about it, like things like seminars and stuff, I'm telling you to go out there and like find coaches and stuff. Those are really few and far between. I have gone out of my way many, many, many times. Even though I have a coach, I'm still looking for advice from other people. And like we talked about, there might not be a lot of strongman in your area, but try to think about those adjacent things next to you that you can learn from an expert and then apply to your game. So, for example, doing a lot of yoga and mobility, the woman that owns the yoga studio, her name is Erin, that lives in town here. I asked her some specific things about positioning to get under a circus dumbbell. And she's not a strongman coach, but she understands movement of the body very well because she was a weightlifter too. So she was able to show me some things that opened up my side, opened up my thoracic rotation and extension, and I was able to get much better positioning on the circus dumbbell. If there's no strongman in your area, there's probably CrossFitters or weightlifters. Those people are going to be able to tell you how to press weights overhead and do cleans better. So even if you are not anywhere close to having access to these people, the reality is, these people that coach strongmen, the reality is you are close to people that can show you different things that are going to benefit your game. Valerie the Live is going to be saved on YouTube. If you check out my channel, it's the same handle and username everywhere on all my social media patterns. The athlete mentality that sets the best apart, wanting it more than your coach. You have to be a student and be proactive. I just cannot, tell you that this really all boils down to your mindset. Like, are you somebody with a scarce mindset or an abundant mindset? Because if you're abundant, then you need to open your eyes and like kind of see about all these different tools. This is why we all love strongman so much, because there's all these different elements. You need conditioning, you need endurance, you need mobility, you need explosiveness, you need strength. So there are people out in the world that are specialists at all 5 of these things, right? So if you want to get better at this, you're going to find somebody in your realm that could maybe master this. So just be proactive and, get out there and do it. So I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like running out of a little steam here because I am probably underfed for the day. But if anybody has any questions, I'm going to kind of sit on here for about 2 to 3 more minutes. You can file it in. What's up, guys? What's up, Reed? What's up, Todd? How you guys doing? I hope training is going well for y'all. But yeah, just kind of spitting and talking some ideas. I like to jump on and do these lives because it's important to me to generate some discussion about the sport of strongman. I wish more people were talking about this. I don't always want this to be just me like talking at the camera. So if you have questions, like please pump them, bring them on, so this can be a little interactive. Maybe at some point I'll be bringing on some other guests with this, but I'm doing this for the community. I don't know everything. So if you're out here saying like, oh, Steve just said that, what an idiot. Like, I'm not trying to pretend like I have the exact perfect answers. And if you ever watch any of my videos, like, I'm not ever trying to tell you this is the way you should do it. I just want to present all the options and, get you some ideas to maybe try something different, think about something a different way, and get better. That's it. So, all right, I'm going to give this about 1 more minute. If anybody has any questions, please fire away. But in the meantime, just going to hang out here, drink a little water. Make sure you stay hydrated. Probably should have set a timer. Drank a little water earlier. But yeah, man, I guess we could cover themes of the night. Be proactive in your community. You get so much value from just being, it's not moon water right now, Sean, but good question. You get so much value from being involved in different ways. It's something you can really kind of only understand once you do it. It'll have a much greater appreciation for every single role that everybody does if you, at least at one point, participate in yourself. Got a couple of people jumping in. Guys, this stays up forever live on YouTube. Or I'm sorry, not live. This stays up forever on YouTube. So after this, you can go back and watch it. Good question. What do you think people should charge on entry, coaching passes, etc.? That is sort of that's a tough question to answer directly, but let me give you a few thoughts on that. So I'll just say it. I'm thinking about, raising my entry fee next year, but any transaction whatsoever, it has to be about what value are you delivering as a meet promoter for the meet for the athletes. So let's say in theory that, well, what's the best way to say this? Because I don't want to spoil too much because I got some really interesting things that are coming up for this. But 2-day shows obviously are going to cost more than 1-day shows. You have to rent twice as much time in that venue, if not 3 to 4 times more, because you have to load in, load out. So what's the quality of it? If you're just kind of hosting somebody in somebody's parking lot, like that's not a very high value show. Are you bringing a live stream to the competition? Like what level of live stream is it? Is it somebody with a camera or is it somebody that's actually a professional with commentary and the ability to play back later? So what do I think people should charge on entry? I can't really give you an exact answer on that because I have been charging $100 for mine, but the value is going up and like everything is getting more expensive. So it will be more next year, but I don't think that people are going to bat an eye at it because just you guys wait and see what's coming. It's going to be freaking sick. So I appreciate the question. Now, coaching passes, tough. I mean, I think if I'm charging a little bit more personally, then I'm going to allow every athlete to get 1 coaching pass, but that'll be kind of part of the value that's sold in. So let me just tell you what I'm thinking about doing and why I'm going to charge more. 2-day competition, you get 2 t-shirts, coach pass. I'm going to be having new equipment. I'm going to be having a couple things that are involved and brought in from sponsors that you are not going to be able to get at any other strongman competition. So it's exclusive to that. We're going to have a live stream back again next year. So therefore, when you're going to be looking at my show compared to what other people are charging, it will be, in my opinion, a no-brainer that it is worth paying a little bit more for. That being said, I hope that I have the reputation that I'm going to put on a good show. If somebody just shows up out of nowhere and promises XYZ that this is going to be the biggest, baddest show of all time, and they have literally nothing to back it up whatsoever, and they're asking all this money, like I think people should be pretty objective and wonder, is it really, worth it? That's only a decision that you can make. So that's that. Good question, man. Good question. We'll field any other questions if you got it. Trapper Kane is in. Josh, like I said, you can go back and replay this at any time once this has ended. But gonna give this about 1 more minute. If anybody's got another question, feel free, pop it in, make it happen. Beast of the Bay was an amazing event for all competitors and spectators. Yeah, man, that one was sweet. Had a good one. Just you wait and see what we're going to be bringing in next year, man. It is going to be awesome. Had some really big goals and big visions from last year, and we were on our way to make it happen. So can't wait, man. And that's a good point in general. Everybody should always be evolving and growing and getting better. Get involved, be active in every sport at the level. Put your equity into it so you understand all the ins and outs of just all the parts, man. It's going to give you a greater appreciation for everything. But I do it because I love it. I hope all of you guys are here because you love this thing too. And that is that. I'm going to call it right there. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, man, nothing but love, always. Thank you so much for watching. Have a championship night. Stay strong. Be proactive. Be a student of the game. Well, brother, it just depends how good your show is. And listen, man, we can connect. We just linked up on Instagram. I know that. So if you want to talk a little bit more about some of that, would love to, kind of chop some ideas back and forth. So if you're looking at me wondering what the heck's going on, we have the live chat on YouTube. So I am talking to people. You can join me there. But anyways, all right, enough of that rambling. I'm going to go eat, get some food in me, and get to bed. So I got to get up, get some training going tomorrow. Stay strong, guys. Have a championship night. Take care. Boom. Get strong. And no, you are strong. Get stronger. Let's go. End.